Good evening, televiewers. You're welcome to Prime on my media Prime TV with me, Kum Leonard, for presentation. This evening, we're going to be looking at the relationship between these excessive roadblocks on our major highways with road users, looking at getting inspiration from the crisis that actually blocked the road in the northern part of our country, precisely in Meganga, where circulation was stopped for over 3 days. That saw the heavy hand of the military to open the route. We are going to be asking ourselves why we have all of these security road blocks. We also are going to be looking at, if time permits, the post-electoral crisis, what the church and civil society can do to push forward peace efforts so that we can come back to normalcy and live in peace. We are discussing this with panelists who are with me in the house. Two of them are already here. We have Dr. Michael Antimancho, who is a lecturer and also core member of Cameroon Civil Society. We're glad to have you.
Thank you, Mr. Liu. It's a pleasure to be here again this evening, and my special greetings to all Cameroonians who are watching us from every crook and cranny. And my special greetings to Cameroonians, especially who are really stressed during this period. You know, people are undergoing hardship in Cameroon. You know, having a meal a day in Cameroon is now like seeing the tear of a lion. I know we really have to live in hope in this country, as if we despair, then a lot of things will go wrong. And we think that there are a lot of provocations that are coming up, and people want to ask for their right, and they are being cracked down. And we think that Cameroon and its governance needs to do better. Thanks for inviting me.
Robert Kedia Malanfe, who is a militant of the CPDM, is part of tonight's edition of the program. Good evening, Kedia. We're glad to have you.
It's a pleasure to be here. Greetings to all Cameroonians that will be watching us right now, as we'll be giving our own views with regards to happenings in our nation. I would like to take this special greetings to greet Mr. Kum Leonard for the job he is doing. He has always been there for the last decade to promote freedom of speech and expression, and also the ability to permit people to be able to express their own views and opinion, no matter their own standpoint and their own regard with regards to issues happening in our nation. Special greeting to the proprietor of this institution for putting in place this exhibit so that people can come here to express their opinion with regards to things happening in our nation. Special greeting, of course, to Minister Paul Tanganji for the job he's doing, and all Cameroonians, especially those that came out during the presidential election, of course, to vote in the Northwest and Southwest region, despite the various conflicts that is going on there, but had to break the odds and come out to vote for their favorite candidate. And of course, democracy was respected, and of course, the president was sworn in, and we are all waiting for the next move, especially with regard to cabinet reshufflement, where we'll have the youth and of course women, as the president himself said, so that they can execute his views and of course better the social and the economic welfare of Cameroonian people. It's a pleasure to be here, Mr. Kum Leonard.
We also are expecting Fa Elvis Tayo, the Deputy Communication Secretary for the CRM party. He should be caught in traffic. He'll be joining us in the course of the program. Dr. Michael Antimancho, your first reading of what happened out there in Meganga, Adamawa region of the country.
Well, my first reading, of course, coming at the verge, coming just after the President of the Republic took an oath on office. And of course, you know, when the President takes an oath on office, it's like signing a social contract with the people. This social contract, of course, entails that there should be negotiations, there should be peace building. And when we start, you know, it's new mandate with this kind of heated, you know, uprising, which, of course, has put people at cross purposes and heightened the tension that we are already living in this country. I felt bad when I saw that happen. Let me let you know, Mr. Kum, that when you see people organize a strike action, know that they have borne something for so long. Know that they have at least one moment, one time, two times, three times, ask that their conditions be actually be looked into, and nothing has been done. Because in Africa we've seen that not only in Africa, even in the whole world, even in America, we have strike actions. People express their grievances. The best way to express their grievances is through a strike action. A strike action is not a bad thing, it is a legal thing. Of course, somebody will say that people blocked the road and that was criminal, or preventing other people, because when you talk about your freedom also your right ends where another freedoms begin, and that if you have to block the road, that means that you are entering into the freedom of another person. But that is right. But you know that sometimes there is the joker card that you use in order to let somebody listen to you, and this joker card, what kind of how could the drivers express their grievances if they have done through writing? Because when you listen to them read what they read the other day, you know that they really have some genuine cries, some genuine appeal, some genuine grievances, whereby drivers are asking to be affiliated in the same pairs. Drivers are asking that their conditions be re-evaluated, their salary pays. Drivers are asking that the frequent checks that they are having on the ways and the extortion that they have on the way be looked into, and nobody cares. And I think that they have very, very genuine appeals, and if up to now they have cried and cried aloud and nobody has listened to them, I think that to force somebody to listen to them was, at least I support them for what they did, that they needed somebody to listen to them. But the way they were cracked down, I begin to ask myself, it was like the government has postponed the problem, the issue of the drivers, for another day, because it was not negotiated. The ending was not negotiated. The ending was cracked down on. I remember how the losses that many drivers have had, the trucks that have been mercilessly and nihilly pushed into the forest, and many trucks were destroyed, showing that the problem was solved with an iron fist, not through negotiation, which is bad. And when you do that, what are you saying? You are saying that you are postponing this problem to another day, because the drivers themselves, I know the next thing they will come in with another way of expressing their grievances, since they know that stationing their trucks on the way, and they will use other materials to push them their trucks off. So they would likely be able to use a different method to actually show the government that their grievances must be heard, and therefore we should expect to get more from them. And that's what I'm saying, is that sometimes in strike actions, which we know it is genuine, we need to always have a negotiation. We need to have institutions that are habilitated with the powers and with the know-how of actually getting about this. I would like to talk about an issue. You know, we are power drunk in most of our countries and most of our societies and most of our organizations. We are power drunk, and power drunk, it comes within the confines of addiction. You know, addiction is defined as unnatural attachment to things, and sometimes when you are addicted to power, one of the things is that you act without even reasoning about the outcome. You act before thinking about the outcome. So that is it, that most people are power addicts, and therefore when you are power addict, these kind of things, they happen. But we think that it is important that people have grievances, and they should have a channel through which they could be channeled. I was thinking that they should identify somebody who was supposed to have actually solved this problem. I remember the driver standing there and saying they would need the minister to come up and be able to talk to them face to face, and it was important. The governor was there shouting on his megaphone, and they seemed not to listen to the governor, and they said this problem which we solve at the central unit of the Ministry of Transport, and nobody seemed to have cared about them. But what actually they got was that they were iron hands, people who came and actually pushed them up to the wall. And when you push somebody to the wall, coming back, it comes with venom. It is important that this country, with the problems that we already have, we should learn to be able to solve problems. Problem solving is a very, very important. Crisis negotiation is an art. It's an art, and it's not given to any other person. People need to learn how to solve problems. People need to go to the school of conflict resolution, because this is also falls within the confines of conflict resolution, where you have a conflict between the root users, and then you have the root user and our administrators, our managers, our government. So when there is a conflict of this nature, they need to get somebody who can be able to calm them down at that particular level, that they are already here at their pedestals, because the people who suffer and they have not eaten, they have not fed their family, they can take any action at any moment, and we only have our own selves to blame afterward.
Now, do you understand the move by these truck drivers in Meganga who decided to stage a strike action as a response to a treatment that came from a gendarme officer?
We're in democracy, and of course all unions have the right to express their discomfort to the government that be, so that the government can look into their situation. Of course, there was an action that occurred between a taxi driver and of course
a truck driver,
and of course a gendarme officer, which of course should be condemned. No matter what, we should not have violence, because it violates the fundamental laws of the world, which is against torture or physical violence, which was perpetrated on the taxi driver. So at that level, of course, violence was done. We should be realistic and accept certain situations the way they are. Taxi drivers decided, truck drivers decided to revindicate, and of course the road was blocked for about 3 days. The first day it was the divisional officer that went there, and he spoke what he could do to be able to negotiate. That's the process of conflict resolution. To talk with this, of course, truck drivers, but unfortunately he was not heard. The senior divisional officer, of course, went there. That's the representative of the head of state at the level of the division, was there. He spoke, and of course he was not heard. And of course the representative of the head of state at the level of that region went down to the field to be able to discuss with them to look for a finding solution to this. People can revindicate, it's their fundamental right, but blocking the road for people that are traveling to the north region and the extreme north region is also violating their own fundamental right, the right to movement. We should know that when you revindicate your own right, in that process you should ensure that you don't violate the right of another person. Of course, the governor went down to negotiate with them, discuss with them, but he was not heard. But after all, their revendication, which is a social revendication with regards to their job, almost turned to become political when they started saying that they are waiting for the last decision of a presidential candidate that did not win, and of course abscond out of the republic, and they started saying that they are waiting for him to come and give his final say as a purported president according to them. And everything changed from a civil revendication, which is accepted by the law, but it became political. And of course, to protect the right of the other people, the forces of law and order had to intervene to ensure that the roads are being cleared, so that other passengers will have their right to movement, which is fundamental. When you go back to the right of movement in Cameroon, where you go back to the federal system in 1961 to 1972, where a pass was supposed to be given before you leave one section to another section, in which many people revendicated that we are in a nation and everybody has the right to go anywhere and everywhere in the republic. And so the forces of law and order, they are there to ensure that the sovereignty of the state is protected, had to come in to ensure that the right of those people also is being respected. So you'll be very complex for me, or perplexed, when a co-panelist will say that it was a crackdown against the truck drivers, and it's not openly plain to say that that decision was done to protect the right of Cameroonians that were traveling to the north and the extreme north. So when you say that it was a crackdown to a particular people, you are supposed to tell the Cameroonian people that this crackdown was aimed to protect the right of other people, which is also a fundamental right for them to move within the nation. So with this, right now, I just want to ask the people of that region to be very, very vigilant, because despite this, we all know what has been happening along that stretch of roads. We also know the influence of the anti-Balaka forces at that level, which maybe they may come in to use this as an opportunity to destabilize that part of the nation. We are calling on them to be Republican. We are in a nation, there is state of law, which they need to, of course, respect. And of course, I believe there's continuous dialogue that is being done with regards to the president in charge of truck drivers at the level of that region, and of course nationally. I conclude by saying that there was dialogue. Blocking that road, separating the nation for 24 hours was really violation of the right of those moving. Another 24 hours going up to 48 hours was also violating the right of people moving from the south part of Cameroon to the northern part of Cameroon. Going to 3 days, of course, I think that 3 days is enough for the government or the military to intervene and protect the right of those that were moving towards the north or moving towards the south of the Republic of Cameroon. Their right too is important, same as the right of those trucks drivers. So to conclude, I would simply say that when people are revendicating their own right, they should ensure that they should not violate the right of other people, because the state is there to prevent and protect the right of Cameroonian people.
Okay, but many trucks actually got destroyed in the process of opening up the route. More than 20 trucks were actually, I don't know whether they are completely destroyed, but at least they were pushed. They were pushed out of the route to open up the road, and we don't know whether the truck drivers have come back to full circulation from that part of the country. But now, these truck guys, they say it is true that they reacted the way they did following a slapping of one of their colleagues by a gendarme officer on that road. But could we also say that it is because they are also using this opportunity, because on that same day they asked for the destruction of that control point, which was done by the gendarmes themselves? Can we also conclude that they are also vexed by the excessive number of control points, where we say when they leave Douala, by the time they get to Kuseri, they are supposed to settle at least 94 control points?
Yes, Mr. Liu, I think I did mention this, that this was like, there was this suppressed emotion that had gone for so long, and they needed a trigger.
They're looking for an opportunity.
Exactly, they're looking for the opportunity to be able to express it. You cannot just get up on any way and then you start vindicating. And you must need something to trigger you to do what they did. And they were looking for just for this opportunity. And you know, this is an issue that was supposed to be negotiated. I mean, from the onset, during the slapping, it is not the first time that a Janam slapped somebody. But how do you think that this one carries so much kind of, euphoria, and I mean, people got so much caught by it? It is because the driver themselves, they catapulted this thing to a different, because of what they already had in their mind. So I think when my co-panel wants to argue just one-sided, I mean, it is funny, because we need to be very, very holistic about this thing. Something has happened, and we have seen what has happened. All of us, we feel for it. And you know, even sometimes we panelists, or when we are talking here on TV, sometimes we are talking out of the fact that we have known about other areas that are having similar issues. And you know, and then we make a comparative study of all of these, and we are able to say, if you look at other areas, you will really think that something needed to be done, because we know that we do not have a culture of dialogue in Cameroon. There is no culture of dialogue, because if there was a culture of dialogue, and then this wouldn't have been the way it is. it is like, you know, drivers have cried foul, and they are talking about how they have been extorted huge sums of money. I listened to the president of the drivers union read what they read when the governor was there, and he was pleading. He kept on saying, Monsieur le Gouverneur, and he said it about 7 times, Monsieur le Gouverneur, because he felt that you could see it in him. Physically, psychologically, you feel that they are defeated. And you see that this is something that they have been going through for so long a time, that this distortion. And then one of the things they mentioned was the fact that there are so many checkpoints. And they are even crying the fact that even their own, patrons or those who truck owners who give the trucks for them to drive, what happens is that they do not understand with them when they come to explain these things to them. You find that somebody travels from Cameroon to Chad, and he's supposed to have at least maybe something back home, but he cannot bring anything back home because of these checkpoints. And when he comes with all of these to explain to their hierarchies, they do not understand with the situation. So it was the best way for the drivers to express, so that even those who give them the trucks to drive, they should see among the vision that this is what they go through. And it was just the best time for them to burst off. So it was a trigger that, and this really had to happen. When you bear something for so long a time, it is a time, there's always a time or an opportunity for it to come out. So it was important. And the issue of even a police officer slapping a driver, I mean, you know that I say we are standing on sand in this country, and you know that you can even clip at any moment. You shouldn't worsen situation at this point in time. I don't know whether the police officer or what he was thinking in his mind, or he was still the user intimidation that we go through in this country. That of course needs to be condemned, that he didn't have any local standing to slap the driver. And secondly, drivers now coming in solidarity with what happened, now had to take the opportunity to tell who cares. And in their reference, they reference the fact that they have tried to solve this issue. They have talked about this issue, and now other issues are came in. And it now went from just a simple checkpoint and slapping somebody to many grievances, which of course that when this happened, that this is something that they have been crying about, they have been working about, they have been trying to resolve, and it has not been resolved. So they feel that since they cannot resolve these things in closed doors, then they should do it in what they call la diplomatie du carrefour. They should say it openly for everybody to hear. So this is what happened, that you find it's like a child crying at one moment, and one of the ways a child will cry is just to come out of the house and cry for the whole quarter of the whole world to hear that this is what has happened. So this gave us an opportunity to understand too what these truck drivers are going through, that they are working through very, very mean condition. I listened to the trade union's president, who said there are some truck drivers who receive salaries as low as 70,000 francs. Can you imagine a truck driver who drives internationally, that is Cameroon, Chad, receiving a salary of 70,000 francs? What does that salary do? And on all of that, what happens? He is being tortured on the way as he drives. He is being extorted money as he drives. And it is a high time that the government looks into this. But why should our government make as if they are ignorant to this? These people contribute to the economic growth of this country. It appears as if when this crackdown was done, it is like they are saying that we can do without the truck drivers. We cannot do without. They are also part and parcel of the economy of this country. If they ground their tools, then we are going to suffer. Some part of this country is going to suffer. And therefore, it was important that dialogue be one of those tools or one of those assets that we should use, especially when it comes to issues of trade union. And I think that I was talking about people habilitated to actually broker peace in this kind of situation. The civil society is available. We are also in solidarity with what they are doing, and that when things that happen, we believe in issues of dialogue that is structured, dialogue that is long-term, dialogue that is ephemeral, and not dialogue that is perennial. Not something that is short time that you do and you think that you have just solved this problem, and then after some time the thing blows off.
Now, Kedia, do we need 94 94, 95, 96, 97 control points from when the truck leaves Douala to Kusiri?
That would depend on the information that, of course, our institution in charge of security do have that we don't have.
Okay, we need all of them.
Yes, they have the information we don't have. So I cannot say it's too much because I don't know the information that they have. And especially, as I repeat again, that road we've had terrorists, which we all know, the anti-Balaka forces that have been disturbing in that road. So if these institutions put this security, it depends on the information they have with regards to security information that they have that we don't have. So I don't have the capacity to say if it is too much or it is small. And if anyone that has a little bit of knowledge with regards to security would definitely concur with me. I beg to differ with my co-panelist when he said I see things in a one-sided perspective. When you opened the floor, you spoke, you gave him the floor, he did spoke, but I was the first person to come out to say it very clearly that a right of a truck driver was violated and he was slapped, and we know the Constitution of Cameroon and of course the international convention that the Republic of Cameroon has signed is against torture and of course physical violence. I'm the first to actually come out to condemn it, that it is wrong. So I don't think I should be analyzed as being one-sided. It is true that happened and we do condemn it, but for me to give my analysis, not being biased by my political affiliation, but as a political scientist, when other drivers, truck drivers are revendicating their right, as a civil society activist that you are, my co-panelist, you should also care about the right of those people that are traveling on that road. If you are saying with free conscience that a taxi driver was in a car, this happened, that happened, you should be able to talk about those plowing those roads, maybe leaving from the north or extreme north to come to the center to have better health facilities. Those that were moving because of education, those that were moving to go for their family reunion, they do have a right. So when we are analyzing, we should look at the two sides. It is a fundamental right of those drivers to revendicate, true, but it is also a fundamental human right of those using that road. And I will still beg to differ again with you when you say, when you minimize or say that dialogue was not done. There was a dialogue with the deal. There was a dialogue with the deal. And you confirm on this platform that there was a dialogue with the governor. You said the governor used the megaphone. You also confirmed that the president of the trade union came out and read out their complaint. That is dialogue. I do not know the type of dialogue you mean. But if the governor could give a proposal and the truck driver can also give a proposal and the two institutions were there present, then I believe that there was a dialogue. And you yourself, honestly, you came out to say that maybe they used the opportunity to bring out other revendication, which there is a way that the state handled that. When you bring your revendication on the table, it is being solved. When you want to use the opportunity to bring other revendication that it is excess for the government to solve, it becomes a problem. The government is not Jesus Christ that will have solution to all problems. No. And this is what we face in the Northwest and the Southwest region, where teachers and lawyers came out to revendicate. But it was exploited. And other revendication came out. And they abandoned that revendication to talk about federal system, to talk about separation. And it became another problem. So we should know that when we are revendicating, we should understand that the government is not an institution that have 100% to all our solutions that we revendicate on. The revendication they brought, everybody condemns it.
Away from the route that leads to the Adamawa North and Far North regions, you travel regularly from here to Yaoundé. Are you very comfortable with the number of control points you find? Going to Boya, are you very comfortable? As well as moving up to the West region?
I'll take an analysis to talk about maybe from Boya right up to Yaoundé. We have my 16. And we all here, if we are not hypocritic, and even those watching us and listening to us, they know how the checkpoint in my 16 came about with regards to the crisis, which was very, very necessary at that time. We also know about the checkpoint after Tiku, which we all know is a mixed checkpoint. And we all know the smuggling of petrol, the smuggling of weapons, the smuggling of many things that are coming into the country. As I earlier said, I am saying this based on the information I have. But I don't think that I can have the information that the gendarme head office is having, the police head office is having, the military head office is having. I do not have that sort of information, but they are there to ensure the security. Now, Mr. Kum Leonard, there is something that I want us to know. I should be very honest to tell Cameroonian people. We do have police and gendarme security here, but if you go to Nigeria, where I have been, I left Abuja, I left Lagos, from Lagos to Edo, from Edo to Ondo State, Ondo State to Ekiti, and to Abuja. They don't only have police checkpoint, but they have military checkpoint.
They don't have gendarmes.
Yeah,
no,
we are talking about military.
Yeah, but Nigeria does not have
I believe you will not say gendarme is the military.
No,
we have military and we have forces of law and order.
I'm just telling you that in Cameroon we have the military, the gendarme, and the police. Just
the gendarme and the police, they are there for internal security. We can never ever, and the gendarme have never ever been categorized as the army in this republic. So we are saying that they all are agents in charge of law and order and security, but they are not the army. But I'm saying that in other countries, we have the military there to in any checkpoint within regions or within states. We have that in other countries. So in Cameroon, if we have that, it's because of the information. I still insist the information they have. Instead, Mr. Kum Leonard, what I think we should talk about it, which it is very honest, which I will also say about it, is at the level of what they do at those checkpoints.
No, that is what I wanted to ask you. I say it is true you say security reasons, but at least you observe their actions. Do you see them actually checking when you bought a car? Do you see them actually checking what is carried by these vehicles, or simply getting this either the motorboy or the driver to come and greet them and then they chat and the car moves on?
Per the Constitution of the Republic, when it concerns checking, the first aspect before any other thing is done, when you stop a taxi driver, a truck driver, a taxi driver, or a bus driver, the first thing is the presentation. They need to present their ID card so that you know who they are. If a driver is driving, the first thing you need to do is to know if that driver has a driving license. And I believe that that is the first process that, of course, they are executing. I will agree with you that, of course, there is a problem. Our drivers don't have their full documents, and of course, which made the forces of law and order to exploit that. I will be very hypocritical to come and sit on this platform and say that they are not being extorted. It will be hypocritical. We know that those things happen in our road. We've seen many times where you don't have ID card and you lost some thousands or 2,000s. That do exist. However, we should not undermine that security aspect of smuggling of weapon and other aspects, which I think that the forces of law and order should look into. We have our members of forces of law and order, as a freshman who always say, il y a toujours les brebis galeuses. Of course, we in our forces, we also have some members, of course, that will always do the wrong thing with regard. We have that in all institutions, be it journalism, be it teachers. We do have that in all institutions, where there will be some people that will definitely do the wrong thing, and we do have that in the corps of police and gendarme, which I will not be hypocritical not to accept. But the truth I'm still saying is that all those checkpoints, the motive why they are there, I think is 100% correct because of the information those institutions they have. And if they are being checked, I believe that that is where we should be able to look at. As the same as we are condemning that the forces of law and order that are there should not continue exploiting those drivers, maybe with regards to ID card and the rest and passengers. We should also have that moral ability to also say that let our drivers do their documents, because they don't have the documents. And that is why you see, when I want to analyze here, as I am analyzing here, I will not be two-sided. I will condemn. And that's why, if I'm able to condemn the forces of law and order, maybe some of them with the activities they do, I am also honest to be able to condemn these truck drivers that don't have the required documents. And that is what I think that my co-panelists should do, and not condemn me for being one-sided.
Doctor, do we need all of this number of control points? We have what we call the police who are checking these vehicles, and you move away from the police. You have what they call routier. All these guys have to stop to see the police here and then to see the routiers at one point. And then we also have what we call a mixed control at some points. In Misele, we have the police this way, you have the routier there, but when you get towards Bikoko, you meet the mixed control, and they are there. Do you really see them checking the state of the cars, checking for the possibility for these cars to have some harmful content, and are they actually doing the job?
Mr. Kum, when my co-panel speaks, I was laughing because he spoke like somebody who is a stranger in Cameroon. Because those of us who have traveled in Cameroon, who travel in Cameroon, there is one thing for sure that I mean, is the pity that we have with the driver when we travel. Forget even about the truck drivers. It is an experience. I don't even need to get into the details of what the truck drivers are going through. What we go through, even with agencies, with transport bus agencies, is a terrible act that should be condemned. We organize a kind of my civil organization organized a kind of discussion with some drivers, and one of the things that we got was that, which was very recurrent, was that drivers told us those checkpoints and the militaries, the police, they even hate when they have complete documents. This I testify. Why? Because yesterday I even just traveled from Douala to Buea. What happened is that I was very vigilant. What happened is that when a driver is stopped, the police checkpoints or the gendarmerie or whatsoever, they don't care about checking the documents. I was vigilant is that the driver, as he stopped, what he does is he removes his notes, put inside his file,
Yes.
gets to the checkpoint. Don't ask me why.
He does not have documents.
No, he does.
Condemn.
You see, listen to me. I have the words. Please stop ranting. Stop ranting. Stop ranting. You know you're ranting.
No, you should
because
use what you are
listen, because I'm talking. Because I cannot be talking. Cut me short. You should be polite. You should be polite. You should be polite. I was still doing my discussion. So what they do is that when they reach there, it is not like saying that they do not have a complete document. The police officers, the gendarmes, the routiers and whosoever, they do not even check the documents. They do not check. So you cannot say for certain or with certainty that they do not have complete document. What they do is, once they put the note inside, they slip it into their hands. What happened? They open just the page of the note. It appears as if they have already marked the page where the note is put. They remove the note and the document is returned to the driver. There is no check about the document. This is what we are decrying. Everybody is a right of everyone to use the road. We cannot condone the fact that some people are blocking the road, but we must condemn in the strongest terms the fact that some people are extorting on others. It is not necessary to have from Douala, for example, to Buea, and you have about 8 checkpoints. For what? What are they checking? Secondly, if in the north, in Meganga and Gaundari, what they were checking is that they have carried some contraband goods, they have carried some explosives, they have carried some dangerous objects. Yes, if those checks were about that, yes, we will support that to the last, to the desired end. But this is not what the drivers are talking about. In no way has the driver condemned the fact that they check their vehicles. The drivers are rather saying that they check their pockets. They are not supposed to be checking their pockets. They are supposed to be checking their vehicles. And therefore, there is no need of the police control, the need of the gendarme control, the need of the routier control, the need, and all of these controls. What happened? The drivers must pay the price. They must pay the price. And let me tell you, sometimes people think that it is just the drivers that are paying the price. When the drivers, they pay all this control, what happened? The fee falls down on the passengers. The fee falls down on the Cameroonian people. The fee falls down on the citizens. Because what happens? When they already know that they have to pay these so many checks, they add the transport fare. Some people think that you don't feel it. You are going to feel it when the transfer fare is added. And that is what is happening. You remember, my company quoted the Anglophone crisis. This is what is happening there. When the military checked and the Amber Boy checked, what happened? At the final analysis, the driver adds the transfer fare. And who suffers? It is the common Cameroonian who suffers. It is the citizens that suffer. So we are saying that so many checks on the route are counterproductive to the economy of the country, because all these checks do not serve the desired purpose of the state. It appears as if the military is functioning independently, the police functioning independently, those they call the routiers functioning independently, and each person at the end of the day goes and answers to his boss about what he has collected on the road. We need to talk about these things. This is what happens. And that it is the highest collector that is maintained on the road always. I even got someone say, which is unofficial, that when you do not collect enough and also have to share as you have to share, you are not sent on the road any longer. We need to condemn this. Why are this happening? These are state civil servants. These people are paid on the state rule, and therefore they are supposed to serve the state. And let them not make as if they do not have salaries. This is what we are saying. And when we listen to the cries of the truck drivers in the north, this has nothing to do with them decrying the fact that they are checking them against carrying goods that are threats to the state or to Cameroon. This, I listen to them very carefully. We are decrying the fact that there are so many checks where they distort us of money. In every checkpoint, we are asked money. This is the first cry that they sent out. The second cry was that we really need to be affiliated into the same place, because after we retire, what happens to us? There is a cry that they talk about, that there are some of us who have very low salaries, and this is the only thing that sustains us. Some of us receive as less as 70,000 francs, and if we have to always pay this on the way, it is not our bosses who incur the cost, it is us who incur the cost. And when the boss is paying us, he doesn't take into consideration the fact that what we had, we spent on the route. I think that we need to be in solidarity with them. There was nothing bad about it. The cries were good. Yeah, and just to land, there was an issue where my company talked about dialogue. No, that is a very wrong notion of dialogue. People stood and gave their own opinion. It was not a dialogue. A dialogue is sat on the table and people discuss, and you say at the end of it, this is what we take home, and that this is what we are going to work on. When the drivers sit and read their grievance, and the governor uses his microphone to say, you boys should go back, you boys should stay down their toes, it is not dialogue. Those are even monologues. Because each person spoke to himself. Yes, you spoke in the air. There was no negotiation at the end. What did they agree on? Because dialogue, something must be agreed on. That there should be a take-home message. That at the end of this discussion, this is what we are going to implement tomorrow. That is dialogue.
Okay. Far Evis Tayong just joined us. Good evening, Far. We're glad to have you. Your first reaction to what happened in Meganga, where the drivers not also very excessive. They may have many persons think that they have decided to not ply the road or ferry goods down here, but at least allow others to use the road. Were they not too excessive with the way they took this?
Well, I think that we will not be able to conclude that they were too excessive. For the simple reason that he who wears the shoes knows where it pinches. And that's why Kedia and his people are always giving a different rhetorics, because they live in a kangaroo system that has been in a confused, lackadaisical manner, and they keep dreaming as if they can speak peace on earth when they themselves are the #1 breakers of peace. Now look at it. These guys ply this Douala-N'Djamena corridor stretch of road. Now, as I said, he who wears the shoes knows where it pinches. These drivers, before you see them reacting like this, it means that it did not just start just that day. That's what people should understand. Now we have understood, for those who follow developments concerning these truck drivers, for over 2 years there have been strikes and call of strikes, mediated by the Minister of Transport several times, and their major worry has been on the harsh treatment meted on them, coupled with the so many, more than 90 number of checkpoints from Douala right up to Marwa when you're entering to Chad. Now, this is a call for concern. Come to think of it, these cars at the same time, which Kenya should be able to tell Yaoundé, though Yaoundé knows and they're pretending not to know, is the fact that they don't give the normal amount of money that other categories of cars give. First, an illegality of the classification of amount to be given. I call it an illegality. Because with the normal transport system, when I'm leaving from where to come here, you see general routier, where you have the mixed police, they give 500. Where you have routier is 1,000. You know, you see the way they classify it. This is a criminal activities carried out and covered by the state. Watched here and protected and masterminded by Kenya sitting here. Yeah, now, as a matter of fact,
I'm not sure they are officially asked to collect the money.
No, yeah. Mr. Kum, I assume responsibility. The state is an accomplice to this crime. Why? The state knows that these monies are being collected. Two, the monies are not collected hiddenly. Mr. Kum, if you are in the car, they go and give official.
Is it the state that asks them to collect money from drivers?
Mr. Kum, if you don't ask me to collect money, and I'm collecting, and you know, and you're not stopping me, it means that you are an accomplice. This is criminal law we're talking about here. Those who don't know what I'm talking about. The moment you are aware of a crime, and then you don't bring the crime to an end, you become an accomplice. If the perpetrator of the main act is going to prison 5 years, you will take at least 1 year for being aware. That's why we say that, like Kenya, they always have their policy. If you hear that an amber is around your house and you don't announce it, the moment they are picking you up in your area, all those around the neighborhood too are picked up. If the amber man is getting maybe 20 years imprisonment, those of you around that area whom you were living with him, you have your own price to pay. It's automatic. So why should this law apply to other things and does not apply to the collection of money, which is now an official man? I say official, why? Because it is done in broad daylight. If you are subscribing like that, they don't hide the money. They just take it and go and give and come back. You need to know when you enter a car and they tell you, no, who get 10,000? You say, me, say, don't worry, we'll change that from police checkpoint or Shanam checkpoint. Those are areas where they now change money. In their cars, they park there. If you come there, I have seen it. Those of them are watching me, they know what I'm talking about. I have seen them with, that is uncountable 500 and 1,000 francs. They put it there where you are supposed to put the pedal. They just throw it there on the floor there in the car. You come there, any change you need. If you have 100,000 notes, if you have 100,000 notes, they can give you the change there on the spot. These are things I call that highway crimes that the state cannot tell me that they are able to check Far Elvis, who is against the state. They are able to check President Anise Kane and his activities, and they cannot know this one that is done in front of them. I mean, in front of population in general. It is sacrilege. Now, the issue of Meganga, I would tell you that first, these guys themselves, it is not easy, as I said earlier, that they don't pay the same amount of money we pay here. There are some they pay 5,000, some they pay 10. Others pay as far as 20,000-25,000 francs per car. If you rent your car, assuming that you have a trailer, and that trailer has to be paying 20,000 francs times more than 50 control checkpoints right up to Chad, how much do you go home? You now realize that first it has an adverse effect on the goods, because he who now takes the goods over in Chad or far north will want to sell expensive in order to cover up the monies that have already been used somewhere along the line. Now you see where the issue comes from. And the one thing is that what makes it, because when you see these things like that, it's the immediate cause is coming, there are remote causes. Now what even makes it bad is that the collection is done forcefully and in an angry and aggressive manner. Now a uniform officer is pressing hard on collecting the money as if he gave you the money to keep. Now this is something abnormal. I was the other day going to Yaoundé, we're in a private car and we stopped after a day. Now there was a routier checkpoint around there after a day, and realized that, see, I was moving. That's why I said sometimes the law works for some people, it does not work for others. Well, I happened to be moving with a state official who stopped there, and they stopped him rather, not he stopping. When they were checking, I asked them, can I see your official document declaring to be here? What the guy brandished was something 2023. was already fed up. It means they keep photocopying. It was fed up. At that point in time, the moment he wanted to call the divisional delegate of transport there in Senegal Maritime, the guy started begging. It's okay, let him call the regional delegate to find out exactly if these guys are authorized here. The guy started begging, choose who's saveke. And I'm talking about even illegal checkpoints that they are backed up by some particular persons and they stand there. So these guys, if you see them, it's because most of the times when they state in their kangaroo system that Keja preaches here every day, as if they want to resolve a problem, the next thing is that you see the problem occurring again every day. So the guys have been pushed to the wall. Their issue they're holding tight is that let their problem be solved once and for all, and not with the empty promises. What is very, very disturbing. That's why I say that if Kenya preaches peace here, you think there's an angel from heaven. But in reality, the foundation they're coming from is what we call a kangaroo foundation. They preach peace broad daylight and they do something else in the night. They preach peace broad daylight, something else. How do you understand that they are still negotiating? Negotiations are still on. Of course, you bear with me that the only language Yaoundé can listen to when it comes to you want a forceful change is when you decide to protest, peaceful, or any way you decide to do it. That's when they start saying, mais la fête, c'est comme si c'est sérieux. It is abnormal that why dialogue is still going on. Then bulldozers are burning overnight. I say, why dialogue is still going on? Bulldozers are brought overnight, and the trucks that were on the highway were all turned over away from the main road. Most of them have already been damaged. And who bears the cost? Of course, they will tell you that the state has done its own, has used simply force. This is the kind of government that does not dialogue. And my brother here keep blowing grammar. You know dialogue, you know negotiation and all the like. These are rhetorics to deceive Cameroonians as we are speaking here. It is absurd that they came by night. Why the guys went arrested knowing that no negotiation is ongoing? They only came early and they want to realize that your own truck that was standing here is already far off in the bush. The other man's own is already far off. It has been cleared by the military bulldozer from the engineering corps. I start asking yourself, is this a normal dialogue? That I'm talking with you. You give me the sample as if we are on track. We will see how to arrive at. You will hear my problem. And they're only for you to go back by night. The moment you bulldoze the cars from the road, overturn them, you start out military and you are ready to shoot. Now, this is the kind of treatment they give to people. And you start asking me, is this government really willing to ever dialogue with people? No. It is a repressive system.
Okay. So many persons are saying that, okay, this road, we had the roadblock for over 3 days. And they're wondering why the minister did not also move up there to talk with these guys, because they are a core, very important compartment of our national life, because they are the ones moving goods to the 3 northern regions and over to Chad. Or is it not also necessary for the minister who is working directly with these guys to go and talk with them?
There are various hypotheses and there are various opinions that could come up, like the minister talking with them. It's in democracy and all opinions are accepted. But you know, I see repeat it again, the DU spoke with them. The SDU, representative of the head of state, spoke with them. The governor spoke with them. And they still insisted there was dialogue. I still insist on that. Secondly, we are talking about these drivers, their cars being pushed up. It is wrong, I concur. But nobody is talking about that citizen that left Douala, Yaoundé, and was going to the north in a car, blocked for 2 days. Women that are pregnant, women that are on their period in those cars, that they could not clean themselves for 2 days, 3 days. We don't talk about them on this platform. Those are the type of things that I'm shocked. Then we talk about this driver, we don't talk about those other people. Okay, the drivers have become angels. Those citizens that were going to the north, that they also have their fundamental human rights, they have become sheets that they don't talk about that they are right. We know the impact when we see traffic for 2 hours, 3 hours on the road, the uncomfortable nature we do experience, but we don't talk about those people that remain in their car in a road where they could not bathe, they could not take care of themselves for 24 hours, 48 hours and 3 days. They don't talk about them. If I talk now, they'll say I'm ranting. Anyway, I don't want to go into those quarter words that are being used, calling panelists ranting. I don't want to go that. I'm intellectual for that. I'm an intellectual for that. When we are talking about fundamental human rights, when we are talking about the right of people, as we are here advocating the right of those drivers, they have 100% to revindicate. A driver was slapped. Yes, the fundamental right was violated. It is against the international convention signed by the state of Cameroon and the constitution of the republic, which talked about torture. Yes, a lot is supposed to be done, but we should think about those people traveling. Is their right? 2 days in a car is hell. Pregnant women, kids, women on their period that cannot bathe, and we keep them aside and driver become angels. What sort of analysis are we doing? Where is our conscience? I'm confused here. They have their right, the right to movement. What about those that were going to the hospital, being blocked for 24 hours, 48 hours? If they died on the road, what happened? We don't talk about them. We love drivers so much. We are doing now analysis. We forget about the other people. We sing praises of drivers. Is that correct? Talking about the road and the various documents, which I debunk with my co-panelists, and I ask a simple question. They are giving money on the road, and we are not able to have that conscience to say they should have their document. And my co-panelists say I'm ranting. Oh, Mr. Kum Leonard is traveling. He has a car. He does not give money on the road because he has his document. My co-panelist here, Mr. Fayevis, is into transport. He has cars that plow the road. He has his document. He does not give bribe. And I know Mr. Kum Leonard, Mr. Fayevis, you kill him for him to give you 500 if he knows he has his document. He does not do that. You kill him. If somebody has been talking with him, he's an opposition, yes, we meet here, you will put a gun on his head. If he has all the documents, he will not give you a kobo. So I am saying, and I still repeat, as we are condemning those forces of law and order, which I accept 100% that there are some irresponsible one of them that are extorting Cameroonians, I will not refuse. We should have that moral value, which I have not seen on this platform. Somebody condemning drivers that don't have their document. When you are an analyst, you should be two-sided. When you condemn here, you say here that is wrong. We should build moral value. We should preach moral value to our viewers, to tell the drivers that as you are revendicating, you should also have your document, so that this should not happen. There was dialogue, and I say insist, Mr. Kum Leonard, there was dialogue at the level of the DO, at the level of the SGO, and at the level of the governor. It would be funny for me for us to say that the only solution was if he was the Minister of Transport. So they disrespected the DO. Sorry, let me not use the word disrespect. They did not concur with the DO. They did not concur with the SGO. They did not concur with the governor. I would think, okay, fine, the minister was the only person. And I bet you, Mr. Kum Leonard, if the minister could have been there, they will tell you that they want the president. And I see say it here again. Then many of them said that a presidential candidate that lose the election, that is out of the country, is the person to come and talk because that's the person that they recognize. They said that, thereby violating the sovereignty of the nation, recognizing another person as president in a republic. It is enough reason for the military to intervene to protect the sovereignty and protect the rights of all those using those roads. When we are doing analysis, we should be able to say wrong. A, you are wrong here. B, you are wrong here. We should not be demons. We should not come criticize those members of forces of law and order when we know deep in our heart and in our conscience that there are some of them there that are patriotic and doing the right job. Okay. And we should be able to condemn those drivers there that don't want to do their document. That is what we call an analyst, where you bring out facts, you condemn those you are supposed to condemn, and not to come and support one aspect, and when an analysis is about to be done, you say they are ranting on the platform.
Okay, Dr. Dimancho, there seems to be some understanding between the drivers and either the gendarmes and police officers, because they happily, immediately, even the guys driving the trucks and the 70s, that before the car stops, you see a motorboy jumps out and Chef, and it looks like there is an understanding. How do we fix this to make sure that the drivers have the documents are done, they carry the number of required persons in the car, and also can stand up to the gendarmes and police officers to tell them that, no, I have all my documents, I'm not carrying more than the required number of persons?
Okay, Mr. Kum, we need to get into the details of this and delineate it. Okay. Before I get to your answer, let me just say that in regards to the revendications of the truck drivers, there is what we call in psychology foot in the door technique. Foot in the door technique is a technique of asking for things, whereby you come and ask this, and because sometimes you ask a higher thing because you want a smaller one. So you ask a higher so that it should give you the smaller one. Yes, that is how revendications are done, and that is how the Anglophone crisis was done. You know, some people were asking for independence at that time, initial start, but they were asking that in order that they will be given their federation. It happens.
There's some people are standing on
they're still standing on that, of course, and some are even asking for more. So, but coming back to your question, if you have read the book, the seminal novel by Ayinkwe Ama, titled The Beautiful Ones and Are Yet Born, you will understand the system where we are. It applies perfectly to Cameroon. It is not as if there's a compliance between the drivers and the gendarmes. No. It is because we are in a deep corrupt system which is purely and highly endemic already in the blood, whereby you just understand. You just understand. Corruption is an issue that you just understand. The drivers are just understanding that.
Understanding and responding.
And responding to the corruption. Because when you are reticent in the system like this, your head goes and you are out of business. It is very clear. It is not just about the drivers. Go to Yaoundé and also go to the ministries and say you are not going to send an envelope and see whether somebody will treat your documents. It is just that. People just understand that they have to do that. So you find that drivers just feel that it is something that, you know, they do it inadvertently. They do not more imagine that it is an action that they need to premeditate before they take. So it is something that they just know that is innate in them and that they just have to act. And that if you don't act, you land into problems. First, when you are in a corrupt system, you often cry about time. Only people in a corrupt system cry about time because they think for them time is money. When you hear people saying time is money, begin to think that that's a very, very corrupt system. And when you say time is money, what is he thinking about? He just wants to do his things fast. And when you want to do your thing fast, what do? You just have to send that motor boy fast. Sometimes the motor boy even goes to give money and the driver is impatient. That is the corrupt system. That time is of essence and that you want to bribe and go your way. And that is what happens. Because you know that as you bribe there, you are also going to get your own corrupt means from the other way. And that is why in Cameroon now they say, I bought a taxi for somebody. And what I realized was that the driver disturbs even more than the taxi. I'm telling you, it's a fact. Try that and you will have high blood overnight. I stopped it. Why? It is because of this kind of things. When the driver goes and gives that money, he knows that he's going to take from the car. This is what happened in the corrupt system. And that is why Ayinkwe Ama will say, chop a chop, country spoil. This is what is said in The Beautiful Ones and Yet Born. A perfect picture of it all. Whereby you find a postcard where death is mismeared everywhere at a Rompo, a Carrefour, and a signboard is put there. Keep Cameroon clean by keeping dollar clean. And there you see a heap of death where that signboard is put. This is a sign of a deep, excruciating system of corruption. And therefore, most of these drivers are helpless. And that makes now for the fact that there's even now a lot of corruption in the system. A driver now feels that if you have documents that are right, that are verifiable, and you are still treated like somebody who has no document, what is the use of going to spend money to do your document? And therefore, you find some of them having their document file. Those they are as old. They usually put it in their insurance stuff. You find those, even the insurance, most of them do not have. And everybody pays the price. Because what I'm saying is, when these people do, when the gendarmes do this, the police people do this, the routines or the miscontrol, or they do that, they think that they're doing only to the drivers. They are doing that to all Cameroonians. Because what happens? When you do that, there is lack of checks on cars. There is lack of assiduity. There is lack of conformity to the stated norms of drivers. And what happens when you do that? It shows that even the passengers are in danger. When you do that, and the drivers know that they can go away with, they do not go for visit technique. The cars are in ramshackle manner. You find cars that are flaking and peeling, and you ask, are people in this car? You begin to ask yourself a question. I remember I had a hand-off with a driver coming from Buya one night, and we stopped at a point. I told him, there is a problem with this car, and you want to continue going. I was with a friend. We dropped off from the car because our life was at stake. But you found that there were other passengers there who saw no problem on them, and they rather face us. They said we are disturbing their way. They want to go fast. I said, but how? You are not thinking about your health. You are not thinking about your security. You are thinking about going fast. That's why I talk about the issue of time in the corrupt system. It is very, very problematic. And therefore, when you find these drivers, it is not as if it is a gentleman agreement between the security officers and the driver. It is cooked up. It is a system that has immersed us into that kind of a situation where we are in a mire now, where escape is chimerical. To come out from where we are today, we need an overhaul of a system. So what we are looking at is not just that act of the police officer, it's not just that act of the gendarme, it's not just that act of the routier, it's not just that act of the driver. It is an act that has to be hit from a particular source and a particular way. And as Mr. Farr usually say, the kangaroo system has to pay the high price about this. Because this thing needs to be touched. There is something that needs to be cut. You know, it's like, you know, you see something flowing somewhere. You have regular flow of something and you have to cut it so that it stops completely. We do not know how we are going to do that. Where we know that one day we will get that. I'm happy that Ghana, after independence, before that inspired Yimkwe Ama to write that, Ghana is becoming something better today that we didn't see in the 1960s. That man wrote that book in 1968. Can you imagine? Where corruption was already too high. There was the issue of filth, moral decay, and all of those. But today, we are finding Ghana becoming an example of a democracy. So what we keep saying is that Cameroon would do better. And when we say that we are condemning what happened in Menganga, honestly, it is not that we are condoning the fact that people were put under untold suffering. Whether they were pregnant women, whether they were people traveling for their businesses, whether they were students. I even felt for some of our students who were coming from over there, they come for the Unified Games, who were stranded there for 2 days. I felt for them. But sometimes we usually say that we should crack the egg to eat the omelette. And it usually has to be hard. And that's why I'm saying, to change Cameroon, we will not have to pity certain things. We have to bear certain things in order to change. Nobody has the right to block the road. Nobody has the right to disturb public order. Nobody has the right to put any other person in untold suffering. That is what we all know. But we say that when some people are insensitive to the well-being of Cameroonians, when some people look at what we are going through in an askance manner and they behave as if they do not live in this very world, when some people depend on their personal gains, aggrandizement, on at the detriment of other Cameroonians, and that when people have already pleaded, they have begged, they have beckoned, they have cajoled, they have lured, and nobody has listened to them, the only weapon that remains is to shout out aloud and to carry out a little bit of disorder, because that is the language that some people understand. And that if that is the language some people understand, speak the language, and we hope that they understand. And unfortunately, that wasn't a dialogue that they had in Meganga. That was a monologue, and we are hoping that people should be flexible in dialogue, and that when they will come to sit on the table to discuss tomorrow, they should listen to them.
What happened in Meganga is not completely resolved, but how do we ensure that tomorrow we are not only talking about truck drivers, we may also find taxi drivers facing the same problem, because even within main cities like in Boya, in Limbe, say in Bamenda, in Douala, only within the town we have so many of these. How do we make sure that we don't tomorrow find ourselves with these commercial bike riders also standing off to the gendarmes and police?
Well, I think that there's a way out. Unfortunately, the way out will never make sense to those who have kangaroo system, because to them we are singing a song. When you hear like Kedia out of a sudden start thinking of pregnant women who have not changed their path, you imagine this is when now he feels for them. But when they were doing, or they are doing their actions, refusing to dialogue as required. If the SDO came, the post did not listen. Has Kedia bothered to find out what transpired between them and the SDO? Because I cannot tell you I want malaria medicine, and SDO comes and give me typhoid medicine, and then I tell you I should take the typhoid medicine and be happy that SDO has come because representing the state. Then that notwithstanding, the governor comes. Instead of giving me malaria medicine, the governor is now giving me high blood medicine. And I should be happy that, hey, I've seen the governor, the representative of the head of state in the whole region has come. Let me take this typhoid medicine and go. And then not long, another person comes in. You see how these guys who kill the system, they have a way of presenting as if they are angels. All of a sudden, the so-called CPDM communicator today has been thinking of pregnant women. When they are unable to do things at the hospitals and these women can enjoy these facilities, they're able to have common dialogue with truck drivers to enable circulation to flow. Now he has become sympathetic on them. May God really forgive this by Keja here. As a matter of fact, the devil is always at work. Don't listen to this kind of crooked discussions. That's how they talk as if they are angels. Now, Mr. Kum, what is the way forward? It's very possible. But will Keja and his cohort from the Yaoundé Kangaroo system listen to? No. But let me just talk for talking's sake. After all, it's my duty to be talking. When you look at it, how do we bring about an end to this so it does not degenerate to the other transport sectors? If you go to Boya and Bamenda, Limbe, and other times in Douala and Yaoundé, what is the corrupt system? Keja knows. They have their patrol units, and the patrol units do not start at a particular place for more than 2 hours. So if a patrol unit is in Bamenda at Bayele Junction, after 2 hours, there are two things. Either that patrol unit goes, another one comes and takes over. When you are coming after 2 hours, you say, no, I have seen the other man. They said, no, c'était d'autres gens, ce n'était pas nous. Nous, on vient d'arriver. Then the same team you are seeing there at my 2000 that was there before, they migrate now to around Finance Junction. Now, by the time you are coming there, you see the person, you are even smiling because you saw him the other way. He said, no, ça c'est d'autres contrôle. If you don't control ici. You can see the slavery that KJ and his system have systematically brought drivers, those in the transport, at the bending knees, begging for help. Now, I'll tell you, Mr. Kum, the same scenario repeats itself, it's even worse. What happens? You have gendarme vehicle different, the army vehicle different, and about 6 of them patrol at different times. Jamie, they are also patrolling. In the night, they patrol and stay. They are here at checkpoint. They don't even waste up to 1 hour. The next day, they are just in Board Junction. If you met him here and just a stone throw and meeting him again up there, no. There is no grammar like you had met him down here. This is the system we're talking about. And they know about it. And they refuse to bring an end to it because the system surely benefits them in one way or the other. I'm not talking what time I'm out. Now, how can those issues be brought to an end? I will take you back to what happened in the days of Haijo. It was simple. My father told me of a commissioner of an inspector of police in Kongsamba, who was at that point in time when Haijo decided to leave his comfort zone. All these state officials, they live in luxury. None of them have taken the pains to work extraordinary. Konak wants to visit their office, Mr. Kum, they announce that they are coming next week. So you keep an envelope. You start negotiating a hotel for the officers to come and sleep there. Those that want to come for public works inspection, Mintepe, or who's the supervisory authority, they start telling you, the project owner, we are coming to your council area to buy a project on this day. You start making yourself for their hotel, the kind of fowl they will eat, the kind of goat they will eat. This is a kangaroo system in its reality. Keja knows these things. They are the ones who have plunged us into this mess where the drivers are the beck and call now on the part of the security officers. Before I go further, there's another situation which I witnessed. Coming from Nigeria, from Lagos. Of course, we want to thank Chief Chinedu, who's watching us right there. Now, when we entered, after getting to Ekop, getting into Manfe, another checkpoint was there. What was the issue? It was not an overload issue. But the driver was willing to comply. I intervened in a violent manner. I don't understand what is happening here. And what was it that the person who took the car document went and started him quietly? I was instead the driver had taken us wherever there was dialogue that no driver has to settle at least 5,000 because at least we are coming from Nigeria. When they ask where are we coming, we say we're coming from Nigeria. That's a crime. For Cameroonians coming from Nigeria, we have now to pay 5,000, not their normal 2,000 or the 1,000. And the driver was complaining that no, we have not yet paid him and he had problems with the car on the way. That was not the man. He went and started him quietly. And when I moved to him, officer, I don't understand what is happening. I am coming from somewhere and I'm moving to somewhere. No, sir, the guy me say, if I should on control, he says a kill do affair. Now look at the kind of stories. We stayed there for close to 2 hours. Only for that driver, for him to say he wants to give the money. I told him, give me the money, let me go and give him. But he gave the money, I pocketed the money. And I called, I don't want to call who I called. Imagine, okay, that connection was not even there, Mr. Kum. When I called, no, give the phone to when they gave the phone, he was very reluctant. When they gave the phone, later on, donc, vous voulez faire comme si vous connaissez des gens. Bon, il faut partir. But I did not give the driver the money. The money stayed with me because he was willing to give the money in the wrong cause. And I kept the driver is watching me. I kept the 5,000. I told him, this is my own money. Since as you want to go and give money in the wrong cause, let me hold the money. But now imagine that having that connection. It means that people would have slept there, or it was even seen that the driver waste another minute again. He will not even give that 5,000. He will give 25,000 francs now. And you now see that what is happening. These uniform officers have what they call motif in French, that they can give to you at any time. Just by writing that you insulted them or you obstructed their duty by creating noise around that area is only enough for his hierarchy to accord with him. You see now where the drivers are pushed to the wall. They act against their wish. Several times when I'm leaving from Boya, I'm coming here on Bamenda, the driver tell me that where Grand, now if you motor you rescue me. But they don't know they will go do how. They don't know they will go pay the price times 10. So you see, they already make it to know that these gendarmes, these police officers, they already have a way of pinning them down. If you are intervening now, you can go. But next when they are coming and not there, they are in trouble. Now they have been pushed to the wall whereby they have no choice than to respond to the way the officers want. And this is the kind of system we're talking about here. Now, what was happening? As I give you the example, when Haijo was entering Komsamba, what did Haijo do? First, he disguised as a passenger. Most people will understand this what I'm talking about. And when he was going there, his own security car was in another direction, very far behind. He started as a passenger and got to the checkpoint. And he was in front and the driver was there. Now he told the police officer, it is my car. And the police officer said, but sir, it's your car, yes, but your car is not in order. Without knowing that it was Amadou Haijo. And when Haijo sat there, trying to negotiate with the guy, he wanted to offer him, the guy refused. That no, sir, I'm sorry, this car is going to the station as we speak now. And all in all, behold, the police officer empowered that car. With all the amount of money Haijo raised, right up to 25,000, the man said, no, this car, when you pay your car documents, you come to the station, you show your proof of payment, you collect your car and move. That story, and people know what I'm talking about. That man 2 weeks after was called up in Yaoundé. I knew that he was understanding because Haijo too used to punish. Sometimes the officer needs to be trashed. Call them at the presidency, give them 48 strokes each. Vous avez pris l'argent, monsieur Lele, c'est comme ça, non? Oui, voilà le proof. Montez sur le lit, they give you 48 on your back. Real casting go. When you come back, you will never see it again because you don't know who next will be in that car. 2 weeks after, when that guy was calling in Yaoundé, he knew his own has ended. The question is, what have I done this time around? And the family members were very scared, knowing that all has ended with that police inspector. But behold, it was good news because they kept him first of all at the presidency for more than 2 hours. He did not know that they were preparing him a very good story. Only for him to promote it. Imagine a 2 great inspector raised to the rank of a commissioner with an undisclosed package. And that's why he now did that. Hey, that day like that, so it was Haijo was talking to. But they have disguise. You know, president can disguise. That's why I said that if you have a regime that is not rogue, they have all it takes to disguise, get to the field. I mean, so it's not in the office. It's not a matter of coming and shouting, no, it's strong from the head of state. No. Disguise and feel the pitch. Get into a truck. If I were Minister Tanga Jipo and the Minister of Transport, I will come one day and get in a truck around Garwabulai, wear my gandura, and move there and see how it's happening. Let me take from that truck there, from Garwabulai, just up to Ngaundere, not even up to Garwa. I see how these guys are treated on the way. If you come back, the story will change. It's not because you are a minister, nobody disturbs you on the road. You have petrol bomb, you have all the advantages accorded by the state, that you think that others who are eradicating have gone mad overnight. In fact, they have done something, tramadol, that they just got overnight and they are doing that. So what is the issue here? It's simple. You want to solve this issue. I said this thing several times, and I've told Yaoundé, and I'm writing another official letter to the presidency, which they will receive. If they like to read, fine. I said, carry impromptu routine checks. Where you find them guilty, both the giver and the receiver goes in for. But the receiver goes in more, because a law enforcement officer who was supposed to bring by example. When you catch them in any surprise checkpoint, drag them to Yaoundé, 1 o'clock, carry on a court hearing with televised, with official state media, by media prime, all the media organs there. Within 30 minutes, you close that trial. I want to hear gendarme, major, Chonko, Bertrand, this and that. I contain the date aujourd'hui, bam, bam, est coupable, bam, 25 years imprisonment. The driver of this 18-seater bus, in particular this and that, who also gave the money, is going in for 5 years imprisonment. If you do that 2, 3, 4 times, Mr. Kum, nobody wants to take money, because now you don't even know who is around the corner. But now it's done with impunity. I mean, you see somebody comes out, he leaves his car document, collects the money, and moves to the place, just pays. And then what is happening? All of them have their notebooks as if they are marking exams on the road. You pass, hey, and then what was of it? The other day I was still from Nigeria. We got to a checkpoint in there's a control checkpoint before you get into Babanda. All right, a weight bridge around there, and somebody is already saying he's giving the number. He stands already. He does not go there. He just echoes the number of the car, which means he's telling you that he has passed already. You just need to check on your. So you see that the guys are busy. As you pay, they write your names. Write your name. I mean your car numbers. Your car numbers. So you now see that it's an illegal activity. But we cannot say that we'll keep on folding our hands to these things to move, because illegal monies collected prevents the real money from entering the state coffers. I don't know how KGN is called a reason. I don't know how this stupid guys reason, because it's common sense. If you put a proper check and balance on the road, the money you will see people paying insurance, the money you will see people pay car documents, you will not believe your eyes. That is this thing that they go borrowing billions every day. KGN and his friends, they keep borrowing money every day, putting us into debt. Our debt rate now is red line. But KGN and his friends keep borrowing every day on projects that are counterproductive. What is happening? Block these things, you will see money. Money will enter your coffers. Your state coffers will climb overnight. You say, hey, the people are controlling the paper. But what is happening? They will pretend, because surely, I will not be surprised if sometimes some of the money triggers to KGN. I will not be surprised. Because the way he's defending it, I begin to suspect that KGN feeds fat from that transport illegal collection alongside with his people wherever they are. These things are common. Why can it not jump the boat to an end? Also, another officer, come to Mr. Kum. How many of them are there? You have mixed. On the two sides, there are more than 20 officers. And then Weybridge is there. Weybridge is also collecting illegally. Do you know that if you carry a vehicle, the ton is above? The moment you are able to give there, the certificate that you are carrying the normal ton. Which is not a risk, because when the car carries above the required ton, it can easily fail brakes. It's not the road. But for KG and his friends, they don't care. Okay. Don't know l'argent. Tout ce qu'on veut c'est l'argent. It's sacrilege.
Yeah, Kedia, what do we do not to relieve what we observed in Meganga?
Firstly, we need to move into civic education, which is what I've been trying to do here. As we condemn the police, we should condemn this driver. You know, corruption is one person giving and one person receiving. If we are here condemning the receiver without condemning the giver, then we are not actually serious, because since the program started, I believe that the receiver has been condemned much more, and we don't condemn the giver, because the giver gives because he or she is conscious of not being up to book with regards to the various requirements that are needed. then if I believe that is done, civic education, I believe many driver users will definitely have their documents. Secondly, another aspect also that still go with civic education is because most of the drivers and the road users are not even actually conscious with the various fines that is actually required. Most drivers or passengers don't know the fine you are supposed to pay if actually you did not move with your national ID card or maybe with your driver license. There is a whole book for that describes the various sanctions or the various fine if actually you don't respect those rules. Many Cameroonians don't know that the penalty is about 750 francs for not working with an ID card. They are ignorant about it. I believe that a lot of civic education is supposed to be done at that level so that most of those road users will be very, very conscious and know much more about their rights so that they can be able to face such a dilemma we do have on our roads. I also concur with some of my co-panelists, even though I really wanted them to condemn the two sides, but the truth also is that the men in uniform are those that we know they are professionally trained, which they are supposed to go away from corruption. And also saying this, I also want to be clear that there are some Republican, there are some patriotic men in uniform that of course don't accept corruption and stand on their ground with regard to what is supposed to be done. I believe if there is civic education, we will not have this. I also concur with my co-panelist when he said that if this actually is respected, the state coffers will definitely swell high because most drivers will definitely pay their documents and would not have corruption which benefit one or two people at the roadside. So if civic education is being given, then that will be good. Secondly, if most of these drivers definitely are revendicating the amount of money they are paying with regards to various because if you see a driver not paying the document and decide to be given 500 francs, it simply means that he has done an evaluation maybe for a month. That how much will it cost me to have my documents for a month? If I decide to be given 500 francs at the road, how will my benefit be? They do this analysis and maybe they decide to go into the project of 500. This simply means that they have evaluated to see that what they pay at the level of the state coffers is high, and I'm one of those that will be very clear. Let tax burden be reduced at the level of the immediate consumer, while the government invests with the exploitation of natural resources and other aspects which the government can derive money to carry on a project. For me, I'm one of those that even when I see bike riders in the street of Douala, degree holders, master's degree holders, having problem over 1,000, I see it to be something that we should not be proud of. We should not see our degree holders on bike. So I simply think that if they are doing those jobs, I think the government is supposed to give them some subsidies, thereby reducing the amount of money they are supposed to pay. To go back again to the story of Meganga, their own is more complex because the drivers that are plowing those roads with those containers, we cannot definitely say if they are Cameroonians or not, because they are drivers that do trans-interport, that is from Cameroon seaport to maybe to Chad and maybe to Central African Republic. So there are other requirements that they may need at the road that I am not really aware of. So I'll definitely say that those exploiting Cameroon to carry products from the airport to different countries, from the seaport to different countries, I believe that if they have the requirement, then they definitely have to pay to the government of Cameroon. We should not mix our own national drivers and international drivers, because I believe the requirements are different. So if all this is done, then definitely we will not have problems at the level of our roads. And also, to be very honest, when we talk about the road users, we should also be able to ask for accountabilities. You know, our Cameroonians do pay toll gate taxes, and the state of our road really are not good, because I'm one of those Cameroonians that I believe, I say clearly, that if all that money that is being paid from Douala Seaport, passing through Yaoundé, passing through Betois, going up to Meganga, Garoua, right up to the extreme north, I believe that when you calculate those numbers of toll gates, you calculate how much Cameroonians do pay there, I think it is enough to maintain those roads, so that at least even before we are complaining about the activities of the gendarme, activities of the driver, we should definitely have good roads. So definitely I bring out the responsibility at the level of the state, I bring out the responsibility at the level of the forces of law and order that are trained. They are the ones that we expect them to be much more responsible before going to the drivers. And I believe that if we are all realistic and we call a spade, what the government is supposed to do, what the forces of law and order are supposed to do, and what the truck drivers are supposed to do, I believe that we will not have any other reason to come here again on this platform to debate on such issues where I believe everybody knows these are responsibilities.
But do we also see overzealousness in some of our elements of law and order, gendarmes and police? You are there, you are recruited and paid with taxpayers' money. You are there to defend the nation, but also to enforce the law. And they say the police is the friend. It's your friend.
Yes.
You and I.
Yes.
Gendarmes are supposed to be very friendly. Yeah, but do we see some people who abuse the uniform, thinking that they are now lords who should be worshipped?
Yeah, exactly. I think I talked about this. It's not just being overzealous, but being power drunk. Yes, and I said my opening discourse that power is addiction, and that one of the things that we have to curb in Cameroon is power addiction. I have done a certification course on addiction. I'm a certified spiritual companion for people with addiction, and we have 12 steps on how to bring somebody out of addiction, especially addiction of power. One of the things is that they should let them or recognize that they are going out of order. They need to know that there is something that is wrong, that they are doing that is perpetually wrong in which they are doing. Because this issue looks it's a messy spot for everyone. Because those people, those folks, those drivers who keep the wheels moving, and they are being malhandled, maltreated by those who are supposed to keep their safety. They are being squeezed by those who are supposed to keep their safety. Means that there is a missing link, because the drivers and the security officers on the road are supposed to work in partnership. It is very, very important, even in fighting crime. The drivers on those interregional corridors, the Douala-Chad corridors, they are supposed to work in partnership, because that particular corridor is a corridor of death, is a corridor of insecurity. And the security itself cannot just be fought by the military or by the security officers. The drivers have to play a very, very important role in that fact, by giving information, by communicating, by assisting them, even be able to tell them about some suspicious aspect as they drive on the way. It is very important. Not that this should be happening. So when you have drivers who are very drunk with power, a security officer who are drunk with power and who feel that because out of the barrel of the gun, they can be able to hush down those who are at the level of solidarity, because we look at now the military to be at the level of authority and the drivers at the level of solidarity, which is not correct. They are at the same level. All of them are at the level of solidarity. And therefore, because their rules are complementary, they are supposed to serve each other. And therefore, when a driver puts himself on a high horse, and when a security officer puts himself on a high horse before he has a gun, and he thinks that he can...
What the gendarme and police is consuming in their homes is what these drivers are transporting.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. And we see that this even has some, as an African, some of these have consequences on the drivers and the police. I must say this, because when you take things on jury, especially issues like money, that is undue, and you take it from a suffering driver, just the cry of that driver actually makes you that the money you use, that even on your children, it doesn't go well. It doesn't go well for them. And therefore, it is very, very important that we are conscientized. You know, we need a moral conscientization in this country, whereby you should know that, because I realize that most of these, as you talk about overzealousness, most of them are actually sadists, because you will not see a driver who has almost nothing, but you are forcing that he must give you 1,000 francs, he must give you 2,000 francs, and you are seeing that that particular driver really has nothing. You are better than him. You earn from the state. At the end of the month, you receive your salary from the state. This driver does not receive any salary, better salary from anywhere, but you think that the driver must give you. So it is actually, as overzealousness, and same time, an addiction of power, which of course we really need to moralize people about. It is important that we come to the understanding that to build a state, we need complementary duties, responsibilities. We need to collaborate. We need to work together as citizens of this country, because drivers cannot work independently. Drivers need the security officers just as the security need the drivers. Drivers need security officers for safety. They need the safety, not to be squeezed of what they have. And therefore, the security officer needs the driver to provide them with the provisions that they carry all along every day. It is very, very important that we get to understand this. And one of the things that we are going to say is that we need watchdogs in this country. We really need watchdogs. That people should be able to oversee some of these things, even out of the sight of the normal eyes, that somebody should really come out from the dark and be able to watch what is happening. Because when you give responsibility to the people and there are no checks, there is bound to be this overzealousness. There's bound to be this extra duty activities that people are carrying out. So it is very important we have people who have these checks that we constantly have. We understand that not everybody is perfect. The human being has this longing desire. He has this yearning desire to always have, and that you always want to have. This is what we have been taught by the capitalist system. That's what the capitalist system have for us. The neoliberalism, that you want to always have more than the other person, and you are never satisfied with what you have. And because the capitalist system teaches all for me and none for you, and therefore you even maltreat other people sadistically without thinking and without caring about it. All that you want to do is to enrich yourself. But we need to come to the terms of the fact that we are Africans, and one of the things, not only as Africans, as human beings, you also need to think about how the other person feels. Because when you extort from the other person, you also know that there are some repercussions. There is what I want to talk about, the boomerang, because there's also a boomerang effect in everything that you do. You are saying that you start happening to you, and you're asking yourself the question, why are these things happening to me? Why have I been abandoned? Why has God done this to me? Meanwhile, these are these boomerang effects that are falling back on you. You do things, and then tomorrow the things are falling back on you. It is very, very important that we have this. And we should also have the administration that have a listening ear. Let me tell you, there is nobody who has a hardened heart. When you have a problem, you have crisis, you have grievances, and you cry out to somebody that you think could solve these issues, and the person gives you a listening and sympathetic ear, let me tell you, the heart of man is naturally soft and flexible to listen, to understand when you talk to somebody in that very sympathetic way. So this is what we are asking for, because the government will go in for when these grievances come and the government does not solve. When the government doesn't solve, and then you have these crises, what we had in Menganga, it now affects the whole nation. Because what happened? Look at even the cattle that is supposed to be brought from there. Now cattle now becomes very expensive here down south and here this way. And what happens now? The whole community, the whole citizen, the whole Cameroon now feels the effect of someone who refused vehemently not to do his job, not to do his duty, out of maybe of a zealousness or power, or out of I don't know, addiction. So we think that people should do your job. Because you don't do your job as somebody who serves the nation, the ramifications are so wide. It is very important that when you are appointed, there should be accountability, because this brings out the issue of accountability. How accountable are you at the end of your duty, at the end of the day, when you close some work as a security officer and you go back home? Is it your account is to count the 500 francs that you have had, you sit and count and drink your beer and go to sleep, or are you accountable to the Cameroonian citizens?
But have we seen situations where drivers fall in love with a gendarme or a police officer to the level where even before they leave Bamenda, they get something for this guy? They hope that meeting this guy, they gift him with something. That is, there is a very good working relationship between some drivers and some police and gendarme officers because of how exceptionally they carry themselves.
Yes, I would agree with you that that phenomenon does happen. That is true. That is the truth. In just very few cases,
you have some gendarmes, even when they go on retirement or police, they say, "Yeah, una papa be really good." Yeah, I've seen cases like that.
Yes, no, you have a point. We have some that really buy to give to them because they are exceptional in their duties. But those cases will just be about 2 out of 100. Why do I say so? In the other case of the buying syndrome, most of it is just to create some relationship, so that in case you are in difficulties, even in another control,
they can call
him. I've seen cases like that. You buy water, you give him, you carry buy juice, he thinks that is your friend. No, most of them are buying they are paving their way, you know. So that the moment you are in another complicated issue,
you call him.
The commander just said, no, let's someone petit fella. You know, I know within them they understand a lot. Somebody just by introducing yourself, c'est moi adjudant chef, blah blah, or inspecteur de police, attaché à Gémi numéro 2 à Boya. You know, just by that they seem to, because he knows they can have an station to somewhere, and he might call you to that way to also intervene. So normally those things really happen. I can't deny the fact that those ones really happen. But the main issue here is that most of the times those things happen for reasons that you understand that they are taking those things in order to make sure that they buy themselves through, so that they don't look a type when it comes to some of those complications when they fall into, because they can fall into any trap at any time. Now, if you look at the situation, like the relationship between the officers and the driver. Now, coming from Nigeria, I'll tell you, along the line, we do not have this number of checkpoints. If you live from Lagos, it's not. It's about 160 kilometers, if I'm not mistaken. But you don't have the number of checkpoints you will get from Douala here, right up to, we're talking more than 50 to 60 control checkpoints from Douala right up to Chad there. Things are really getting wrong there. And then what happens?
Douala to Chad? They're talking of 94.
They're talking of 90 something, even correct. They're talking of 90 something. Can imagine the exaggerated aspect of it. Now look at the distance between Lagos and Prekok. It's a very far distance, so to say. I mean, very far distance. But you don't get that exaggeration. And again, what happens? Corruption is corruption. But I'll tell you, in their own case, they are more civil. When I say civil, what does it mean? Now, you discover that a 15, 20, 30 naira to a military officer he takes and he's happy. And what happens? He congratulates you, eh? Oh, God, no, well done, chief. Well done, chief. Now you start asking yourself, this is an amount of money that is sometimes not up to 500, sometimes about 300, 250, and you're living on the way and you're just moving and going. And what happens? The issue of harassment is not even there, like on the roadside in Nigeria. Sometimes now the drivers there, they give it now just for the fact that the guys too, they could equally protect them on the way. Now you can see two different, well, here talking about two different scenarios here. One is that you must give me. If you delay a bit, it's no longer 500, now it's 1,000. If you delay again, now it's no longer 500, it's no longer 1,000, now it's 2,000. You see, the more you want to argue with him, is the more he's giving you a fine day on the spot as if he's a court on that particular instance, because he knows that he can call your crime at any angle and it will hold. Now, take for instance, we had a station where we came sometime around from Nigeria. We got to Nguti, and I asked the man who was complicating the driver. I said, okay, why not just write him? We'll find time and come to the gendarmes there. Now, he was reluctant to write. Why? Because he knew even that if he's putting that the way I was talking with him, there will be more problems than just the writing. He said, no, if only the venue voir, if only say, he connects the condo affair and to know. So you now describe the thing is right deep into the fabrics. But what I'm saying, just like I concur what Dr. Dimancho is saying, when you see most of these guys retire and they don't have something to show off after when they were living very wealthy life before retirement, it tells you a lot of karma works on some of this money. You look at it, the man who carries mineral water, one of his crimes is that if you get to a checkpoint, you offer them sometimes a pallet of that juice. Those who carry drinks, that's what they usually do. So by the time he's returning home, if a man passed with a truck full of biscuits, they have cartons of biscuit. A man who passed with a truck full of oil, they have at least some liters of palm oil. That's how these guys live. And you tell me, is that how an officer is supposed to earn a living? Who is receiving salary? These are the people that are protected and supported by kids that are sitting here. And you see that no matter how you give the sweet talks, wrong is wrong, right is right. So at the long run, we realize that we have now made it a duty. And that's why I said that I know that it triggers some areas because we have done multiple complaints on checkpoints concerning receiving money. A couple of years ago, people who are around students at Bamboo area went on strike because they said there were numerous checkpoints between Bamenda and Bamboo which affected the cost price because the driver had no choice than to increase the transport fare between Bamenda and Bambili, and their excuse was that they had so many checkpoints taken on the road. Now, when those students striked, good thing on their protest was that the Governor Lela